You know those clips on Disney where the stars say, "And you're watching Disney Channel," and then they draw the little ears in the corner? That's called a bumper. Bumpers and stingers are a fun way to transition from one clip or topic to another. Bumpers tend to be longer, usually 15 seconds or less, and stingers tend to be shorter, usually 5 seconds or less. You can check out how I created the stinger for this channel right after you watch the stinger. We're in After Effects now, and I have to figure out what I want to see. So I'm starting by just putting the title as a reference, which is Chau 2, A Guide to Filmmaking. And the next step is to figure out a color scheme. So I chose this nice off blue, off green kind of color. After Effects calls it a cyan, so we're going to call it blue. And I decided that I wanted to see the text type in. So this is me creating that typewriter effect. And that's under the Animate option in After Effects, but it's a little more complicated than that. There's a bunch of starts and ends and keyframes and things you have to do. But if I want them to show up at the same speed, then I have to change the time period that they're both animating for. So A Guide to Filmmaking has to be a bit longer than Chau 2, of course. So this is me trying to figure out that timing. And then I'm trying to think about what imagery I want on top of that. So I go to Google, type in Film 101 images. That brings me to the Dalmatians, which I guess makes sense, but it didn't occur to me at the time. Let me rewind, because it looks like I had the idea first to make it swipe up and down, because I wanted it to have that social media effect where, you know, you're swiping through your feed, you're swiping through TikTok, and you go up and up. And now I'm going back to the imagery that I want to see. When you start designing more, when you start to do more graphics, you start to build your own library. So this is one that I've started building up. I found a slate in one of my icon packs. So I dragged it into Illustrator and repositioned the points and the lines so that it would look more like how I wanted it to look. Brought it into After Effects. It didn't import the way that I wanted it to. Sometimes you can import and it'll come in 2 layers. Didn't do it this time, so I just had to rebuild it in After Effects. Not the end of the world, I know how to do it, it just takes a little bit longer. Then I used some slates on Google as a reference point for the color scheme. These aren't the perfect colors, I'm aware of that, but it's close enough, right? And again, it's just a little icon in the corner of my stinger, so it's not like I actually need it for reference. So this is me figuring out the anchor point so that I can make the slate do the clapping motion. And now I'm doing the fun detail of creating the production title for my slate so that it looks a little bit more accurate, and then adding the lines on it so that it looks fun. It's always fun to turn things off of their original orientation. Like a slate can be, you know, rotated a few degrees this way or that way, and that's fine. It makes it look fun. And now we're figuring out timing for the clap. So do we like it at this speed or that speed? Do we want motion blur or not? I like the motion blur. And now we see how it looks like in the original composition. So you can see that I want it to fly in from the bottom, and I need to just make sure that the timing works. So I want it to be like a 1, 2, 3 timing. So I need Guide to Filmmaking pop up, and then slate pops up, and then something else comes in. So this is me figuring that out. Now that that timing and placement seems right, we have to work on the next image, which I decided was a light. So you go to Google, you find an image you like, you copy it, and you trace it in After Effects, because trace the slate, so why not trace the light too? It takes longer to trace it, but you do get the benefit of customizing it yourself. I wanted to base this off of the Mole Richardson light, so I based it off of that deep red that they have, and then I just traced the rest of the barn doors, built a light stand for it, and am now trying to figure out more good timing for it to come in. Decided that I want it to come in from the top, so now that they're both on the same side, the light and the slate, it's a little unbalanced, so I want to bring the slate to the opposite corner. So your light beam is pretty simple. It's basically the same color as your lens of the light, just at a lower transparency. And now once you have all your imagery where you want it to be, you just have to play with timing and tweak it again. So this is me figuring out what needs to go where and when, and if we like motion blur, if we don't like motion blur. Once you like it, then you render it with that alpha channel to save that transparency, and then you bring it into Premiere so that you can add the sound effects on everything. So this is me going through my sound library, looking for different whooshes and hits and claps and sounds and stuff. This is me realizing that I built my beam a little sloppily. You can see that little bit of yellow that hangs over the edge on the bottom. So I have to go back into After Effects, clean that up a little bit, re-render that, and then bring that back into Premiere so that I can finish putting the sound effects on. So I wanted to add that typewriter sound just to make sure that there's some motivation for the text to come in. I'm looking for a light switch sound, which I found that a football hit kind of sounds good enough, close enough. And now I need a slate sound, so I wanted to go into the YouTube library, but they didn't have what I was looking for, so I just went into regular YouTube and did a MP3 conversion. I should have a slate sound in all the footage that I have somewhere, but I didn't want to go searching for it, so sometimes it's easier to just go to YouTube and download a sound. Now you play through it a million times to make sure that it sounds good, and when you render it, you want to render it with that alpha channel, again, just to make sure that you have transparency for your future videos. Once you have that exported with the sound effects, you can bring it into the project file that you want it to be in. For me, it's this vlog that I did a few weeks ago. Then you can drop it into your timeline and make sure everything's where it needs to be, make sure there's no empty frames anywhere. And this is what it looks like all put together. That was a quick version. Check out the full in-depth process right here.